right. Well, thanks everybody for being here. I just wanted to take a minute. It's been quite a week. I know that this is the Sapphic World Book Club, and we've got a lot of people both in and out of the United States. And I think we all know that the election results in the United States are going to affect worldwide. And I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge that I know things are hard right now. I know people have a lot of questions and anxieties and fears, but queer, sapphic, lesbian books have always been political. And reading them, writing them, reviewing them, talking about them, sharing them, these are acts of resistance. So I'm glad that you're here. And this community is here for you. And we're going to keep doing this, and we're going to keep providing this space. And stay safe, everybody.
Thanks, Jade. I think that's something we all need to hear, whether you're American or not.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, there she is. Welcome to the Sapphic World Book Club again.
Welcome,
Yes.
fairy godmother. Welcome.
Hello, godchildren.
Our little fairy godmother.
We joke about this. It's sort of like an inside joke between me and the book club organizers, that I am their fairy godmother, and that I take sort of so much pride in the fact that I was their first author speaker when they just began this adventure.
You are
So
our
they're
little
my
trial, our little trial version. And afterwards you said, you fucking have to go. You have to do it. You don't stop.
Yes.
And then we
I
were
remember being very profane in what I said. Yes, I was
That's
very
true.
profane.
Yes, and we listened like the good little sheep we are.
Children, stop
children.
with the belittling things. Stop
Man.
it.
I'm kidding.
Definitely not sheep.
No. Okay, so we've been talking about Reverence. Are you ready?
Can I, if I may, just straight off the bat,
Yes.
I want to head something off, because I have been yelled at by my best friend. I have been yelled at by my beta reader. I have been yelled by my editor. I have been yelled pretty much by everybody for this one thing. And I want to sort of head off the yelling and like sincerely apologize
For killing
everybody who has read A Whisper of Solace remembers Gustavo's big love, the beautiful boy, his beautiful boy. So it's not like I didn't warn y'all. It was like right there when Juliet says, and he called him his beautiful boy, and it's so sweet, and I tease them so much. And then people got like yelling at me, and I'm like, but I was honest and open, and the beautiful boy dies in Whisper of Solace. Like you've all been warned. For everything else, I apologize not. Not
Okay,
even
Milena.
a little bit.
Here's a suggestion then. You're gonna go back and redo that part of A Whisper of Solace, and then update Reverence so that Gabe is the godfather welcoming the baby, and we'll have a whole nother story.
Listen, if I was to go back, there's only one sentence in all my 7 books that I would redo. Only one. There's one single sentence, and it fucks up my entire timeline, pardon my French. And that is the sentence that I would change. In The Headmistress. The Headmistress, okay, so for those for those who have read all the books, or for those who have read several books, know that they are connected to each other, that there's Easter eggs, that the characters pop in and out, that they're all connected. I think a month ago on my Patreon, I did like a competition of who would guess the most connections out of every single book of mine, out of the entire Mac universe. And there are many connections. And they all make sense because I planned them. Like I know even now there's one word in Reverence that already set up an entire series that is being written right now. Just one word. And Reverence happens in the 80s. And there's a dead giveaway of when exactly the year that Reverence happens, because Juliet makes a reference to the fact that Gabriel is quoting a movie that came out 4 years ago. And that quote is, if you search the quote, you know exactly that the movie came out in 81, and it's 4 years ahead, so it's 85 when Reverence takes place. And even though it's 85, there's one word in Reverence that already set up a series that is in sort of present day time. So 40 years forward. So every connection is planned. Every connection is, I'm a plotter. I tend to have, these very structured plots before I sit down and before I start writing. But there's one sentence in the Headmistress that fucks up my entire timeline. And it's that, so Neve's book, Tiara's book, Divorce book, they all happen sort of nowadays, whichever nowadays it is right now. So nowadays, be it 3 years ago or today or whatever, it's nowadays. And we know that Audrey went to Dragons, and that was some time ago. So technically, the Headmistress happens about, some years prior to the nowadays, except Magdalene mentions a certain personality, a certain person whom she dislikes.
Well,
and that
that
the book is technically happening during this person's mandate. And that messes up the entire timeline, because technically the Headmistress should be happening during the Obama administration, one of the Obama administrations. And so that is the only flaw in the armor of the Mac universe.
Well,
I choose to ignore it. I choose to retcon it and forget it.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're saying it, because I know a few people that have gone crazy batshit mad because they were like, it's I mean, it's not 2040. How can it? But she mentions the orange thing in the Headmistress, and now is well, I'm glad you just said it straight, and we can just forget about it. We can just erase it from our copies.
We can breathe.
We can breathe again.
And actually, I want to apologize for not tying Gabe in that way, because I was so devastated when I read that. I mean, I messaged you like, what the fuck, Milena? It's like,
do you know how many of those I got? Like, Mila, what the actual, and it is all capitalized. It's all caps. There's nowhere to hide in those messages. It's all cap. It's all angry people. But so many readers have asked about this story, because it's mentioned in it's 2 or 3 pages of dialogue in one of the chapters in A Whisper of Solace. And it's about Gustavo's story and about the beautiful boy. And it made an impact on them. They were curious who this beautiful boy was. So when I sat down to write Reverence, it made perfect sense. Just time-wise, it was perfect. And of course, it being the 80s, the AIDS epidemic, the crises, the Gustavo being a gay man, of a certain age, it just lined up a little too perfectly for me to not take the opportunity to write Gabriel and to have him be an absolutely influential, amazing, just this bright light. Because you don't call someone a beautiful boy and you don't grieve him for 25 years if there was no impact, if there was no connection there, if he was not an amazing person. So that's why there we are. Here we are. Apologies.
Good. Well, let's shelve that for now. Do you have any questions in the chat, Jamie, already? Because I have a few.
I do not have any questions in the chat yet.
Okay. Let's talk about this, well, the afterword first, because this is a very personal book for you. Why did you feel it was time to share that part of your personal history in with a story like this?
Is this Tara Scott's question?
No, it's mine. Tara
Because
Scott,
Tara
right?
asked,
Great minds.
because Tara texted me and said, "Did you mean it? Did you plan this to
He
write this
cackled.
book at this time, and release it, 20 days before?" I can't say that thought didn't cross my mind. And it's because queer books are inherently political. The act of writing queer books, the act of reading queer books. I see a lot of debate right now going on in various platforms, various social media platforms, about reading and how book talk we should keep politics out of book talk. We should keep politics out of Bookstagram, and like, let's all be friends and all that. And maybe in other reading niches, maybe in other reading circles, maybe in other genres, maybe in other types of literature, but our sheer existence is political. Who we are is political. Our books, our stories, things we put on a page is an extension of who we are as people. We are not the ones politicizing our existence. We just want to exist and be able to love who we love and be able to do our job and be able to have children and be able to just freaking live our lives. Our existence is politicized. Our books are politicized. So we are political. So the act of reading our books is political. So I can't say necessarily that when I write a book, I don't think about the optics that the book, projects. My debut book is a Me Too book. I think from the moment that I started publishing, I sort of set myself in this position that, yes, I will write romance because I adore romance, because it's hopeful, because it's, no matter how angsty it is, it's joyful, because it guarantees a happily ever after in a world that's already so bleak for our people. And so the delicate things we make is about Me Too. The Headmistress is about women's rights and the right to education and religious freedom and freedom from religion. A Whisper of Solace is about mental health and therapy. These Thin Lines are about forgiveness and neurodivergency. I think only the Cupids are sort of more or less, although they have their own politics in there. But mostly my books have a red line of an issue that we as community are faced with. Hence, Reverence has its own, message and its own place. And I think its time was 20 days before the election.
And well, I'm not American, but I mean, we've all seen the news.
I don't think I've talked to many people after, and I've seen so many say, "Oh, thank God I'm not American," or "Thank God I don't live there," or "Thank God I don't live there," or
yeah,
we as a world sadly do not have the good fortune to say that, oh, this is just an American issue.
No. I'm scared of what
This
will trickle down.
concerns absolutely every single country, every single person. It is not an American issue because America is the country that it is.
True.
That's my answer, sadly.
Well, yeah, well, thanks. I was gonna invite everyone to come live here, but you know what? Maybe not. Um, I'm thinking, well, the whole history with the Soviet Union and everything Katrina's gone through, um, it felt like a warning, and like history is
It
gonna
was.
repeat itself. Can you tell more
If
about that?
if I didn't write it as a warning, I wouldn't have included the afterword. I would have just, told the story and let everybody take from it what what they would take from it. Or since I did decide to, share the history of my family, I would have just said, this happened, and it's done. But it's not done. It's happening. It's not done. Just like with the second afterword. The 80s and the AIDS pandemic might sound, some out of the horror story where people were left to die in the street alone, where entire governments, countries, continents were just like, we don't care. They deserve it, for who they are, sinners, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But we've come back full circle. We've come back full circle to politicizing of science, to this tiered access to science. Some people have access to everything, some people don't believe in it, some people are indoctrinated not to believe in it. So we've come full circle. We've come full circle both on the political issues that the book tackles, and we've also come full circle on the scientific issues that the book tackles, sadly, very, very sadly. So I'm a romance author. I don't warn. It's not my job to warn people. I write books, and everybody can find in them what they choose to see, and what they choose to understand, and what they choose to hear.
It's personal to
It's
write,
my
but
it,
it's personal to read a book as
it's
well.
my job. Yes, exactly. It's my job to write a book that resonates with me, and hope fervently that it will resonate with the readers. People have written saying that it's an amazing book. It was such an easy reading. It's great. It's so hot. It's spicy. It has everything. And then other people have written like, are you fucking kidding me with this?
Yeah, true.
So like people take from the book what they need to take from the book.
Okay.
And it's not our job to, judge or pick and choose. Or I wrote the book. You read
True.
the book. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that.
Let's talk about the book, because politics we can go all night, but let's talk about this book. Jamie, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just actually wanted to make a couple of acknowledgements real quick. One, Milena, thank you for being on camera. And I wanted to acknowledge the way that you've been really letting the readers get to know you on a more personal level, either through Patreon or just with what this book itself about your family history and what you're sharing now, and your level of visibility that's been happening. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And I also, one of the things that struck me about this book, and with the AIDS crisis and all that was mentioned about, people turning away, is that the lesbians stepped in and were there for their gay brothers. And it was such a profound, movement. I was there at the Millennium March with the AIDS quilt being displayed across the Capitol Mall. And I've marched in many dyke marches in San Francisco. And one of the things that this book reminded me of when you were speaking to the AIDS crisis is that the gay men always throughout the Castro and along the streets as we're marching in this like non-corporate sponsored grassroots march, thank you to our lesbian sisters. And like, there's really like, there was this unity that occurred in that way. And I just want to honor all those lesbian women that stepped up and were there for them, and that you brought light to that crisis and included it in this book. I just needed to say that. I may not be on topic, so to speak, but I think it's really important to kind of acknowledge those things.
It is perfectly on topic. And to your first point, I felt that today particularly it was important for me to be on camera, for a number of reasons, because I wanted those who took the time to be here for an hour and a half, however long we'll be here today, to see me, and for me to see them. And my face will not be on the recording. Kaz will edit me out. I gave her permission to put, you know, mustache and emojis and devils and whatnot on my face.
I'm gonna have some fun with that.
But of all days today, I wanted you to look at me and me to look at you. I'm hiding my face normally, or as much as I'm trying to, you know, not be as visible, because of where I currently am in the world, not because I am, you know, afraid to show my face and be who I am. Hopefully a year from now, I will no longer be here in this part of the world, and will be able to do everything that I would like to do as an author, and as a queer person, who's proud of who she is and who's unafraid. As for the AIDS crisis, that's the second afterword. I did, as a 22-year-old, I was just fresh out of law school, and I started my work with UN, United Nations joint program for HIV/AIDS. It was called back then UNAIDS, and I knew nothing of the world. I don't know if there was ever a more naive 22-year-old. Like, I don't think there was. Because despite getting hired to work at this agency, at this UN agency that has literally one mandate, has no other mandate. Most UN agencies have numerous mandates, UNDP, UN Women. Their mandates are broad and vast and touch different populations. UNAIDS has one mandate: to prevent and treat HIV/AIDS, develop programs dedicated to HIV/AIDS. And I was so naive and so sort of, you know, kumbaya about all of this, because it's like, oh, everybody loves each other and we're just here to help. And look at this, you know, we're helping, and we're, you know, everybody's helping. And my eyes were opened very quickly to the fact that no, history and the present at the time showed me that maybe 5% of people helped. And the rest, organizations, governments, bureaucrats, family members, neighbors, did not help. But it was very deeply important for me to have Juliet, who's a lesbian, always be on Gabriel's side. Hug him, touch him. Back in the 80s, when nobody knew how it's transmitted, when nobody knew anything about it other than that it was a death sentence, and a quick one at that, at the time, and it was an awful death, and that she's unafraid because she loves him, because he's human to her, no matter what. And to what Jamie said, the lesbians were there from the very first day, and they were the ones who were proudly unafraid. They were militantly decent, to quote Terry Pratchett. Back to you, Cass.
Oh, I'm waiting for Jamie. I was like,
I know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Okay, so let me take it back to some of the questions that we have coming up here. One of them going back into how you are a plotter. What kind of research did you do into the ballet world, and what was your process with that?
My mother Well, first of all, I was a ballet kid. I might not look at it anymore, but I was a ballet kid. I wasn't any good at it. Oh, like I wasn't good at it at all. Like not even a little good. Like, you're a little good. Some are like fair to Midland. I was not anywhere near to fair to Midland. I was not good. And so after a few years, my parents also realized that I am not good and, you know, unchained me from the from the pointy shoes. But so that gave me quite an insight into the some of the training and some of the sort of effort that goes into ballet. But also, my mother taught at a ballet school for, I want to say, I don't know, just many, many, many years. And the ballet schools are always sort of somehow connected to a theater, to a ballet company, and to all the productions and the theaters where the ballets take place. So I was one of those, backstage kids that would run around among the ballet dancers, and like the screaming fans outside would be like, "Oh my God, it's so handsome!" And I'd be like, "Huh? Who? He stinks." Because I mean, I'd see them right after the performance, and they do sweat a lot, and there's no deodorant on earth that would cover that smell. So I'd be like, "Oh, you're screaming for him? He stinks! Like he actually reeks." Like, so I was sort of like that kid who saw the reality of, broken toes and bleeding feet and, the smells of backstage versus, the fans and the lovers of ballet who saw only the sort of the clean, perfect, sanitized version of it. And then this shelf right here, I don't know if you folks can see it, the lower one, it has maybe, I don't know, I'd say about 15 books that are on ballet alone. Anything from personal stories of former ballerinas to history of the Soviet ballet to history of the French ballet. And then this April, I had the greatest fortune to visit Palais Garnier itself. Jude there, Jude, who is falling asleep on camera, uh, um, because they are jet lagged. Jude took me to Palais Garnier, and we walked the hallways, and we walked, those stairs that Juliet and Katerina have walked, and then we literally took every single street that is mentioned in Reverence. We mapped them. We mapped them. We know, if you ask me, like, why Rue de Rivoli and why it's on that corner where the apartment is, because there is an apartment there. We took pictures. We like stalked an apartment.
Did it have
We
like a little
went
pink
there.
light?
It didn't have the light. The light was a fiction, a point of fiction, but it is literally maybe, I don't know, 100, 200 feet from the patisserie from Angelina, where Juliet drinks her hot chocolate. Every single thing geographically is exactly where it is in the book, because this April I was in Paris and we measured and we timed and we mapped everything. And when my editor was editing the book, she was like, "I don't even have to check because it's like right there." I'm like, "Yes, you don't have to check. You can check everything else." And she did have several points where I was like, "Oh man, I missed this." She's like, "I don't have to correct your geography. I only have to correct your grammar."
Let's about being such a plotter, because this is a good example. I'm mindful of the time because we've been talking politics a lot, but we really have a few questions about the book. Do you have 10 more minutes?
I have half an hour if you want
Ooh!
to stay.
Okay, I just
Half
want
an
to say
hour,
if
40
people have
minutes, however long you'll have me. It's late here, but I am just as jet lagged as Jude over there.
okay,
So for me, it's American time.
good. Well, if anyone has other plans today, thank you for being here. If you have to go, just leave. We won't be offended. I mean, I don't know if Mila will be offended. We won't be
I
offended.
will not. I'm just so grateful that you all signed up and you're here and you read the book. I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
And if you, the rest of the whole Q&A will be on YouTube later this week. So
With emoji faces.
yes, and mustaches and little devils, and I'll think of something. Jamie Rose has a good question. Being such a plotter, did you have a quota for the number of chin lifts that you wanted to include in the story? If so, did you hit it, or do you think you could have had more?
Full disclosure. I wrote the book. And I didn't even think about it. The chin lift, there's like literally one chin lift in the book.
But it's
and it has a purpose that is not, it's not a marketing plot. And now I'm kind of thinking, why didn't I like think about it before? But it gained a life of its own when my illustrator asked, well, I will draw whatever you want me to draw, but give me a scene from the book that you'd think is easy to execute and it's sort of, memorable. And it was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, well, you can draw them, hugging, or you can draw them kissing, or you can draw them dancing. But how about this? And she drew it. She drew it perfectly. And the reaction was insane. People were writing and texting and emailing about the chin lift. And I'm like, yeah, it was, yes. I always thought about this. I wrote that this was planned, this was plotted. Good
I
for
am
me.
that
Good,
smart. Thank
good
you.
for me. But yes, I'm literally this smart, this marketing genius that I am. And I actually am not. And this was just it was not a thing when I wrote the book, but you better believe it. This is going to be a thing going forward. Like, you better believe it. There will be chin lifts in every book.
Okay, I'm gonna look for it. You've heard it here first.
I'm gonna be like sneaking them in.
It's not gonna be sneaky now anymore.
I have a question.
Can I have a quick one, Jamie? Because of the illustrations you're talking about it, we had a question on the forums that asked about the cover, because it's a really different cover than the other ones you've had for the other books. Why did you choose to go a different route? Because they were award-winning.
When you're offered a chance to work with an icon that is Jennifer Prince,
Mm-hmm.
an absolute, I think she is the biggest Sapphic artist currently working in the world, not just, in Brazil or anywhere else. She is the Sapphic artist. Her art is known all over the world. I honestly do not know a lesbian who doesn't know, who hasn't seen her art, who doesn't immediately recognize the style, who doesn't like clock it right then and there. I have dreamt of first of all, when she told me she knows who I am, it was one of those moments of Mama, I arrived. And she read The Headmistress, and she loves Sam. And so when we connected, and she told me that she has read my books, that she's a big fan of The Headmistress, and that she loves Sam, I had just such a career-defining moment. Like, this is a dream come true. So for me, it was absolutely a dream collaboration, something that it was like a lightning striking, once in a lifetime. I am so honored to have Jennifer Prince's art on the cover of Reverence. I think the art fits the story perfectly. I think she did such an incredible job. We talked about the book. We talked about the themes. We talked about sort of the levels of angst, of love story, of everything in it. And I think she just captures the mood, everything perfectly. Even the color of the backdrop, the curtain is exactly the color of the curtain from Palais Garnier. Like it is that, the attention to detail is that absolutely unbelievably amazing. So working with Jennifer Prince was a dream come true collaboration for me.
And it's a gorgeous cover. Let's see. Oh, sorry, Jamie. I'm steamrolling. Sorry.
I also was like, you thought I give short answers? Because you said, oh, this is a
Yeah.
short one. And I'm like, oh, you child, sweet.
I know. This one
I'm still
probably,
learning.
I know, I was going to say this one might be a short one, but I've got like 3 questions going, but it probably won't.
Hello, ADHD.
Part of part of it was already answered from Maria. Has Milena been a lot to Estonia and Paris? I know you answered the Paris portion.
I have been to Estonia. I have visited Tallinn. I have been to, that's why I haven't been to Latvia and Lithuania. And I needed Katerina to be from a former Soviet republic. And it just fit, the coloring, the sort of the stereotypical Baltic disposition. And I have been to Tallinn. I visited Tallinn, and I fell in love with Tallinn on my very first trip. It's just such a place that it has that just like it is comforting and cozy and small but not small and rustic but also extremely Western. And I just felt that Katerina and her family could be from a place like this, gentle, sweet people who were then, completely cut at the knees by the horrors of the world.
Can I ask another one, Kath? Are you okay?
Yeah, they go. Go.
Well, it came up in the book club portion, a couple of different ideas. One, will we get another story with Katerina's point of view, like you did with Magdalene Knox? And two, people were like really intrigued by Helena and wondering if there's going to be any type of stories or writing about her background and history.
Well, my patrons got the Katerina's point of view. Was it last week? Yeah, last Saturday, I published Katerina's point of view on how Katerina met or saw Juliet dance for the very first time, because the book opens with how Juliet saw Katerina dance the first time. And I had a very clear sort of idea of what Katerina was thinking when she saw Juliet. So I just put that on a page, and I hope the patrons enjoyed it. As for it's serendipitous that you're asking about Dr. Moore. Helena Moore is a character that I also sort of wrote myself into quite a bit of a pickle with. I love her. I adore her. She has my whole heart. And I don't know how to give her a happy ending. I don't, like, I genuinely do not know. She appears in now 3 of my stories. She's in A Whisper Solace. Well, 4 if we take the connection from Magdalene Knox, that she was Magdalene's therapist while she was still on the East Coast. She's in the short story The Sunshine and Lattes. She is and she is here. She's the central one of the main secondary characters. I don't know if you can call it that, in Reverence. But in A Whisper of Solace, she also said, and there was a point of her saying it. There was a huge point of her saying that, if you remember when Neve says that between me and Audrey, there are 21, 26 blocks at this exact moment. When she says exactly how many blocks, I think it's like chapter 5 of A Whisper of Solace, and Neve is very clearly already having huge regrets for everything that she did, for everything that she brought. And she says, at this point, there's like this many blocks between me and Audrey, and it's 7 a.m. and I know that Audrey's waking up and she's disheveled and she has a pillow crease on her, and she has bleary eyed and hasn't had coffee. And she describes Audrey in such detail of Audrey waking up for her day. And Dr. Moore just sits there and says, I never had anyone whom I loved this way. Because if I'd had, I would have, clung to this person for everything they have, because that is real love. That is what love means. So that's where I kind of shot myself in the foot to a certain degree, not to a complete degree, but to a certain degree. Because it means that up until her late 60s, Dr. Moore has not found a love that is, true and honest, and that kind of love that Neve has for Audrey, that Juliet and Katerina have for each other. So we'll see. I think the next installment for my patrons is actually Dr. Moore's point of view on Reverence, on Juliet and Katerina, and on what they have. So I think next Saturday, unless my current Patreon baby is not going to take over entirely. Some of you might have seen I started a new story today. We're all very angry, and we're all very sad, and we're all very scared. And I tend to go through emotions quickly, and I tend to, everything is a little higher and quicker, and these days especially. And the fear was so huge and I hate to be afraid. I hate to be afraid. I hate to be in that state when all I am is this big ball of panic. I need to do something. Like I need to put my fear, and so then the fear turns into rage. And rage is much easier to live with. Rage is much easier to work with, because fear is paralyzing and rage is action. It's pushing you to do things. And so I just said there, 5,000 words later, you have the first chapter, the prologue for Madam Secretary. And the emotions that Neve goes through, it's right now it's a free story on Patreon. All the members, free members, paying members have access to it. I hope I don't attract, unwanted attention for it. You understand, security reasons and all that, trolls. And I hope to have a few more installments for free for everyone. I hope I won't have to lock it sooner, but you never know these people. But Neve goes through exactly the same emotions of deep fear, deep anger. And then she says, I have to do something. So for me, this I have to do something is the moment where I'm sort of right now. So I will either continue to write Madam Secretary, and then that's what the patrons everybody will get next Saturday, or the patrons will get Dr. Moore's take on Reverence, on Juliet and Katerina's relationship, but also on her own past with Juliet and her sort of unhappy love story there.
It's a lot to look forward to. Rage and all.
I hope so.
A quick question. I have a question in the chat. You mentioned in Reverence that Katarina didn't talk for a long time, and then when she started talking, she had a perfect American accent. How?
There's an explanation in the book itself.
I know, but I was like, really?
Really?
Kind of.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, there must be like a little tiny little bit of an accent. No? Was it?
We will see. We shall see what Abby Craden decides to do with her.
And when was that happening? When was
I don't have the dates. I really hope that the book will come out, the audiobook will come out sometime early next year.
Mm.
But the rights are signed off, the contract is signed, and to my knowledge, Abby is the narrator.
It can be another one?
No, not for my books, no.
No, I'm like,
Unless Abby herself says that, no, I don't want to work with you anymore, or I don't like the book or something. But Abby is an absolute sweetheart. We work so well together, so I don't think that will be the case. I hope that won't be the case.
well, she'll probably let you know first then. Could be.
I
Never
hope
know.
not.
About Helena. She could be the older part of an age gap romance, says Sabrina in the chat.
Absolutely. I do not exclude anything. I do not exclude a single thing for her.
I think she deserves her own.
She deserves the world.
Yeah.
She deserves the world. Maybe not for the long phone calls and the drawn out processing thing, because that is a very, us thing to do, to just like keep processing for years the same relationship. The end of the same relationship, just like process ad nauseum. But other than that, she deserves the world. She deserves everything.
Okay, we'll keep pushing you. That's okay. Jamie, you have another question?
What was the hardest part for you of writing this story?
How about I tell you what was the easiest, and then you all
Okay,
just collectively yell at me.
Okay.
Gabe's death.
Don't even go there again.
Coda. So that the book is divided in three parts: adagio, variations, and coda. And these are actual parts of a ballet. A ballet starts with an adagio, variations are where most of the paradiddles are, and coda is the final part, with the absolute last accord being the curtain call. And you have all of these in the book. I love writing endings. Like my favorite parts are endings of the books. Well, not endings, but like the last 30% of the book. Like the headmistress has the fire and the scene, the revelation of who did it and everything. That was like my favorite part to write. The fire, the climax, for a better word. Like that was my absolute favorite part to write. In a Whisper of Solace, everything since Audrey is in the hospital, since Neve comes to Juno and begs for help, and then the run through Manhattan, my favorite part to write. I just absolutely adored. So I love writing, and I think it is something that I still have to learn to apply the same sort of love to my beginnings and to my middles as much as I love the endings. Because if I try to be, and I try to be very objective with myself, I try to be very objective. I struggle with pacing at times, and I never struggle with pacing at the end. I love this absolute sprint to the 100-meter dash to the end of the book. That's the favorite part to write, my favorite part to read. That's something that is so easily edited, unlike everything else. I hate editing.
Do you write that first?
It's always easy. No, I write only sequentially. I cannot. No. I don't write piecemeal. I can't. I cannot. No, because then you have these gaps of write something here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had with Magdalene Knox. I had a chapter, and there was just like, I don't know what happened in my head. I have no idea what was I thinking when it was like a chapter, and I went editing, and there was this one sentence: write something here. What? Like, what were you thinking 2 months ago when you wrote it? I have no, like, there's no memory. Memory is not something I excel at. So what was I supposed to write? So now you're sitting there with a blank page of write something here. Like there has to be something, it doesn't, the ending and the beginning of the next piece don't match. So no, I write sequentially.
It's
I
like
write one thing after the next.
the author equivalent of going into a room going,
why am I here?
Like,
The only parts that I can skip, and I have skipped a few times now, that are much easier to come back to than, write something here, are sex scenes. And I think I've seen Georgia Beers post this recently, that write the sex scene. She left herself a note of,
yeah, that's true.
write this one when you're in the mood. It doesn't ring true for me. Sex scenes are a job. There's no mood for a sex scene, because they have to fit the
vibe of the.
They're not so much. They move the plot. For me, the sex scenes move the plot sometimes faster than dialogue will, because they reveal so much right then and there. They're bare, pun intended. So you see their thoughts, you see the feelings, you see everything. The first sex scene in Reverence, it moves the plot like, whoo. You stared at each other longingly for 15 chapters. Oh, hello, here you are. And so it moves them into a full-blown relationship. One sex scene, because it opens Katerina up to the next chapter when she tells her whole life.
And it's a McKay book when it happens against the wall.
Now that is on purpose now.
I know.
That is on purpose now.
That's that was your old
because
chin lift.
You
now
all
we have the chin lift.
did this. The club did this. You did this.
You're welcome,
during my very first club, there was a question.
Yeah.
Mila, do you know that there's a sex scene in every book of yours where they do it against the wall? And I was like, what? What? and I didn't realize, because I don't consider they happen. These are not plotted. In the notebook, it literally just says, this chapter will have this conversation, this type of action, like they'll be in a car, or they'll, go up the stairs, or be in an elevator. And then it just says sex scene. It doesn't say,
against the wall,
bed, wall, nothing. So up until that very first book club, the sex scenes just happened.
Against the wall.
But now, you better believe it, there'll be one that's going to be against the wall in every book.
Okay, I'm going to say...
You're all welcome. You say thanks to Kaz, to Kaz and to Jess and to Jamie and to Jade. You all say thanks to these 4 individuals.
Yes. We would say signatures after the show. In Dutch. Let's see, Jamie, do you have another one? Let's do one more.
I don't have any in the chat. I have some that came through that we took note of.
Okay. You have a light one?
That's what I'm looking for right now. I'm like, let me.
Well, we can do the one. We can do an ultra light one, or maybe I don't know.
Go ahead.
So, you are on a deserted island. You can take one of your main characters. Who would you take, and why?
I'd take me. You know why? Put me out of that desert island
in 5 seconds,
faster than you actually say her name. And her name is one syllable.
Yes. Okay.
Even the ultimate.
That woman literally bends the world to her will. So the sea would part, and we would just walk towards whatever it is we need to walk, because Neve would say.
And who would you take if you had to choose between Juliet and Katarina?
Oh, Katarina. I would choose Katarina.
Why?
I tend to have this absolutely unhealthy attachment to my ice queens.
I think there are more people like that.
I don't know. I don't know why, but I do. I relate to the cinnamon rolls. I relate to the cinnamon rolls very much, but
But would you
I would
trust
prefer to
her
spend my time.
to
See, I wrote her, so her mind is my mind. I wrote her, so of course I can trust her. Like
Hmm.
out of that entire book, when you look at it, out of that entire book, she's actually the kindest, the gentlest. Her intentions are always there, and I don't know, I like her the best, just like her. Juliet has quite a few moments where I was like, I don't like you very much, you know?
Yeah.
Granted, they are very, they're justified. She has gone through absolute hell, and that her entire arc is sort of hell. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. She had one good intention, and it almost ruined her life. And so I understand why she would say the things she would say, or she would do the things she would do. But some of she wasn't always, a cinnamon roll in this book.
Hmm. I think that's a good thought.
Whereas Katerina is just like, let me just hold you, hug you, and save you from this world that is mean to
Oh,
you.
yes. Yes. And all the awful men in your life.
Yeah.
I think that's a good note to end on. Um, what will be next? Where can we follow you? Tell us all.
What is next is actually two seriouses. Seriouses?
Series?
Seriouses?
Series.
Seriouses?
Like a
Series.
series, but two.
Those. Those.
Yes.
Serious.
Those. It's like mousesies? Seriousies. Good thing, there's an editor fixing my grammar. Uh, I'm messing with y'all. So there's two series that are hopefully upcoming next year. Fingers crossed, touch wood, everything. Um, and one of them is the Dark Academia series that I've been sort of teasing for some time now. Uh, and the other one is witches. So
And vampires?
yeah, no vampires.
Just
Just
witches.
witches? Jamie's like, fuck the vampires. That's good.
I love vampires, but for now we will stick to witches. So I hope to publish two books. Well, actually, I'm lying. I'm like this lying liar that lies. Um, on February 4th, well, February 11th, because 14th is not a Tuesday. February 11th, 2025,
Ooh, the
the
goddess.
second installment of the Cupids, the
Mm-mm.
perfect matchmaking, will be published. And Abby Craden is narrating. And we hope that the audiobook will drop on the exact same day that the actual book will drop. So perfect matchmaking, Valentine's Day novella, Aphrodite story is next to be published. I wrote it a long time ago. It's been published on Patreon. Everything is set for it to, go live in February. I totally forgot about it already. But that's next. And then Dark Academia. And then
And witches will be like around Halloween, probably.
I was just thinking that.
I so hope to have the series be a regular thing for Halloween. Right now, the Dark Academia is a 3-book series, and The Witches is a 4-book series. So that should keep me busy for about 3.5 years.
I'm gonna say thank you very much for being with us again, Sapphic World Book Club. Your godchildren are very happy to have you again. For everyone else, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the awesome questions. Thank you for sticking around because we've had a long session today. Our next book club is Jen Lyon,
December 7th.
The Unfinished Line.
I'm excited about that one.
December
Man, that
7th.
one is a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Jen, like you thought you were gonna yell at me? You thought you're yelling at me? Go yell at Jen Long. I
Ooh,
really want to
well,
say thank you to the book club. This is so important. The work that you're doing is so important. Highlighting authors, making a space for us and for our readers to talk about our books, to discuss ideas and thoughts and our process. You're doing an incredible and very important job, and I want to thank you so very much. And everybody who, you know, took the time of their day, who read the book, who reviewed the book, who rated the book, who hasn't reviewed or rated the book, please do so. Thank you all so very much. Thank you. You are the reason. And what was that saying? We're queer. We're here.
Get used to it.
get used to it.
Yep. We're not going anywhere.
Bye, everyone.